You know that feeling when you're sitting in a meeting, silently waiting for someone to notice you've been carrying the project for weeks, and then someone else gets credit while you just nod politely, all the while thinking about how you can make sure this doesn't hurt your chance at a promotion? Or did you just go through the annual performance review season and learn that yet again, the business just can't support a promotion right now, even though you did everything they said that you should to be able to make your case? And you know you want to speak up for yourself, but you don't know where to start. So you just stay quiet. And then you have this sinking feeling in your stomach that you let yourself down again, and you feel angry that your efforts just aren't being rewarded. It doesn't have to be that way. So let's talk about how to take back your authority in career conversations. I'm your host, Emily Shutt, a professional certified coach with over a decade of experience helping smart, driven women untangle their drama around money, relationships, and well being. I'm here to help you do the same using science backed coaching tools rooted in cognitive behavioral theory, positive psychology, and peak performance. You'll leave with actionable steps for approaching your own life with clarity and confidence. Let's get into it. I have had so many clients who come to coaching feeling frustrated that they're not getting promoted at work. They are always praised for being counted on as the one who can handle the messy projects and get everyone on the same page and always deliver on time without issues. This might also look like saying yes to everything, being the reliable helper, letting people take credit for your work so you don't come across as not a team player. But when the promotion conversations come around each year, their companies and bosses suddenly just can't seem to find a way to support their advancement. It'll say things like maybe next year, maybe more training courses to address skill gaps that we never mentioned until now, or we have to wait for a spot to open up at the next level. The business just can't support another VP promotion right now. The economy's really down, things like that. It's weird to be told on one hand that you're a superstar that they want to support, while on the other hand, being told that they just can't actually support what you want. Naturally, this can quickly lead to resentment and burnout, with a side of self doubt and confusion. This is where social conditioning is also a huge factor in feeding the problem. We are told to be humble, don't brag, don't be difficult, work hard and keep quiet and polite, and your rewards will come one day when the right person notices you. But also, don't go out of your way to make anyone notice you. Like, how are you possibly supposed to do all of that, right? When this happens enough times in a row, you might start to feel suspicious naturally. Like it kind of feels like they're not actually intending to give you the thing that they keep saying they're going to give you. I had one client who went along like this for years before we started coaching, and they ended up deciding to resign with another offer in hand, a better offer. And when they did, their employer suddenly offered them the promotion to executive in order to get them to stay. But it was too little too late, and they moved on to bigger and better things without regrets. That's not necessarily to say that's the right path for everyone, but we do want to think about how to shift from frenetic work and a reactive, fingers crossed approach to annual reviews to more of a proactive approach to career design as a series of choices that we're evaluating objectively while expanding our capacity for uncomfortable conversations when necessary. I think a lot of people skip this part rather than just playing the waiting game and hoping someone will eventually notice you and think you're special. Like, no one is coming to save you but yourself. And that's not cynicism, that's empowerment. Once you actually internalize that truth, you can start making decisions from a deeply rooted sense of agency, not from anxiety. If you are always reacting to someone else's timeline or approval process, you're kind of on career autopilot. So, depending on where you are in your career right now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Early on, a lot of times there is a very structured and well understood path to progression. Like if you're a brand new staff out of college at a consulting firm, don't have experience, no amount of self advocacy or sense of agency is going to allow you to magically jump ahead to senior manager, skipping all the levels in between, right? There is a reason those layers are in place, like it or not. And this is not exclusively about outcomes, but even in a structured corporate setting, there's almost always wiggle room for early advancement if that's what you want. I think it's important to ask why you want it, though, and answer it honestly. Like if you want to jump ahead and get promoted early to impress other people, I'm not sure that's a great reason, but that is a topic for another day. For today's purposes, we're talking about the more ambiguous mid career stage where you've been crushing it and working hard your entire adult life. And now you feel like you're just hitting a ceiling and can't break through to the next level. It feels like every year you do a great job, get great feedback, and then are just told that everyone loves and values you, but this just isn't the year. Or, you know, worst case scenario, you get a title change that actually is just more work without more pay. We see that a lot, unfortunately. If you're stuck in that stage and stuck in that pattern, maybe you have a fantasy in your head of going back to your boss and assertively telling them what's what, saying that they have to show that they mean it when they tell you that they value you. by actually giving you a raise or a promotion or you'll walk. But then you quickly dial it back, even though all of this is only happening in your head anyway, because you're already policing yourself that it's not safe to say something that will make someone else uncomfortable. And you don't want people to think that you're difficult. And I think this is the hardest part, just imagining how hard it will be that you don't end up taking any action. Plus, they did say hopefully it would be possible next year. So maybe you can just wait another year, right? Like we've all heard this before. We have gone through this before. So now you're rationalizing further that you should not take any action, which isn't great if the real issue is that you're afraid to make someone mad. The truth is that it is hard and there is no way around that, having these conversations. So you need to go from seeing yourself as easygoing, chill, understanding whatever, to seeing yourself as self assured and having a strong, positive self regard that requires an identity shift that just is uncomfortable at first. It always is. If we can allow the discomfort and know that we're not going to die, that's where we can really start to get somewhere. When we think about self efficacy, it's the idea of believing that you're capable of succeeding at a specific task. So, in this case, even if you don't have a strong track record yet of advocating for your needs, do you believe that it's possible that you can become someone who can successfully advocate for her own needs? In what other scenarios have you done that in the past, even if it's outside of work? And if you can't think of any, what's an example of someone ideally similar to you who has successfully done the thing that you want to do? What did they do? How did they do it? If you don't know, can you find out? Can you ask them? Can you hypothesize? And most importantly, can you practice believing that those things are possible for you as well? Or an even smaller first step for framing it in a believable way, is it possible to believe that it might be an option sometimes for certain people? Like, see how I added those qualifiers and then eventually expand that to include yourself as well. Having an internal locus of control is about understanding that you have authority over certain aspects of a situation. So, those with a strong internal locus of control tend to be more resilient, not just at work, but in all areas of life. So, this is a really important one to work on cultivating. So, what is in your control when it comes to your career? You can control how much you invest in continued education, if that's a factor. You can control how you show up in professional environments if you're ticking all the administrative boxes. And I think most crucially, and the one that many women try to pretend they don't control, is whether they will have the hard conversation about setting realistic and concrete expectations for promotion timelines and salary increases. You control whether and when those conversations, even if you don't completely control the outcome, but you do control what actions you take in the face of those outcomes. You control if you work there or not. You control whether you even think it's a problem to not be promoted each year. Some of you might be clutching your pearls right now, thinking, of course, I want to get promoted each year. I want to keep growing. I don't want to stagnate or fall behind. And I would just offer that that is an optional thought, and that's a choice that's in your control. Plenty of clients prioritize growth because they're in a field that they're really passionate about and it's what they've always dreamed of. Others will be perfectly happy with their job just being a job that supports other things that they enjoy and value. There is nothing wrong with that. We're not moralizing either decision. But to me, it feels like the vast majority are doing the exact wrong combination of growing for its own sake without a clear idea as to why. Sometimes it's money or social capital or where your self worth is wrapped up. Like, why do you want to get promoted? There are no wrong answers. Just make sure that you know why and that you like your reasons why, and you're okay with the trade offs that come with that. And if you don't want to get promoted or don't think that you do, also make sure that you know why and do you like your reasons? If you say you aren't interested in advancing to the next level, is that because you're afraid of making your boss upset if you push for promotion because you really like her and you don't want to make her feel bad? Or do you not want to work for someone else because they might not be as nice as your current boss? If you're feeling undervalued but don't want to look for other jobs, is it because you think you can't do better? So just pay attention to the stories that you have in your head about why you're making the choices you're making, because you are making choices, even if it feels like you're not doing anything. I had a client a few years ago, and even though I do mostly coach women, this client happened to be a man. And he was laser focused on getting promoted, having been quote unquote burned the year before due to budget cuts. So when we started working together, he was exhausted, frustrated, kind of bewildered, working insane hours, objectively insane. And he had all these ideas of future hobbies he wanted to pursue once he had hit his career milestones. And he wanted to also get into a relationship with the intent of moving towards marriage, again, only after he had got into the next level in his career. So when I asked why he wanted to get promoted, he just looked at me like I was an idiot, which happens. It's okay. I don't take it personally. But the assumption was like, that's just a thing that we do. Like, don't we all want to be growing and getting promoted at all times? And like, first of all, no, we don't all want that. And second, the question that I was prompting him to articulate for himself was that he was withholding all of these opportunities for joyful experiences now until he had hit some arbitrary career milestone first, and that that was an optional choice he was making. But it turns out when we dug into it, he didn't care whether he was promoted for its own sake, and his job title didn't matter to him that much, but he did have a story about himself that having a fancier job title would help him get a girlfriend, basically. And he was afraid that if he actually allowed himself to pursue any of his extracurricular interests, like taking cooking classes or learning photography, he would be signaling to his company that he's not willing to work around the clock anymore and therefore wouldn't ever be promoted. It was very high stakes, very dramatic, very fatalistic. And of course, it made sense that he would feel such a sense of urgency around getting promoted because his life was essentially on hold until he got it. But he was the one putting it on hold. So the real work is there, untangling the socialization that your career accomplishments directly determine your romantic outcomes, your ability to pursue other interests. I think in this case, like obviously I was working with a man. I think that's socialization that men encounter far more often than women, but I would encourage you to think about what version of that exists for you. If you haven't been exposed to other ways of thinking with a willingness to believe that you might have more to learn, then your default thoughts are always going to feel like objective truth. So, when your motivation is basically a superficial fabrication, there is nothing going on for you outside of work that really gives you the fuel that you need to keep going. It kind of becomes this self fulfilling prophecy where you feel like your life isn't fully meaningful because you haven't been promoted. And once you get promoted, you'll be able to do all the things you want. But the things that give life meaning don't come from being promoted. Feeling a sense of purpose and meaning outside of work is also what fuels the fire that gets you to that next promotion. So you have to do the purpose and meaning part first, or the whole experience will feel empty. And I know that is annoying and that's a lot of work, but that is why we're here. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow in your career and support yourself and be able to provide for your family. And a family can just be you and your partner. You don't have to have kids, but it makes the stakes feel much higher if you think that your life enjoyment depends on whether you get promoted in a certain time frame and that you're not allowed to have anything else that you want until that happens. And I think a lot of people will naturally react like, "No, I don't do that. I do plenty of things that I wanna do." But are you really? Right? Like, really dig in. Like, what are you withholding for yourself because of some arbitrary, goal that you've set, whether it's in your career or other areas of your life? You are the one that is making those decisions. For this client, after we worked through it, they actually did end up getting promoted, but they met their partner before that happened because they signed up for a cooking class and thankfully had already done the work to decouple their self-worth from their job title. So they were able to enjoy all of it more and focus on what really matters to them. And I know that sounds like kind of a Hallmark movie plot line, but that is actually what happened in this case and something that's available to a lot of us. We don't have to wait to do the things that we wanna do, and the arbitrary limits that we're putting on ourselves about our career progression being a precursor are just made up. I also had a client who was adamant that they did not want to get promoted because their role at the next level seemed too overwhelming from their view from the outside. They didn't think they'd be capable of it. They didn't want the extra headache of trying to find out. Then they got laid off and they went to a different company where their role was way harder. And they realized in that experience that they had been capable the whole time, right? And they ended up eventually getting rehired at their original company a couple years later in the role that they were afraid of taking initially, with a massive raise though, and an annual bonus they hadn't previously known was a perk at that level. And they're doing just fine. And now they laugh at the memory that they were ever afraid to take it on in the first place. So we certainly learn what we're capable of in the face of adversity. But the key is that we were always capable of it. It's like they made up this story about all the things that were scary and bad about their imagined scenario, and then found out that there was literally nothing scary and they were able to easily fulfill the requirements the whole time. So in this case, their suffering came from the resistance to the idea that they were capable of more. And I think we all owe it to ourselves just to see what we're capable of. Like your life is already happening, so why not? Now, what do you actually do when it comes to navigating career growth? So once you have separated what's in your control from what isn't, the next step is communication with yourself first and then with everyone else. So here are some prompts I would like you to consider. First, why do you want to get promoted or not? If your answer has anything to do with thinking that you will feel a certain way or that you will be able to prove you're worthy, that is not a good enough answer. I'm sorry. You will find ways to feel however you're feeling, regardless of your job title. Your sense of self worth cannot come from your job. I promise that I work with many high ranking Gen Xers and elder millennial professionals who have the exact same insecurities and anxieties as my Gen Zs. And I know when my alphas come up, it will be no different. Your brain goes where you go, and your thoughts don't change because of external circumstances like job titles. Of course, it's normal and healthy to feel proud of yourself when you do get promoted, but that's very different from being abstractly good enough or successful enough. If you want to be promoted, why haven't you been promoted yet? Is it that your boss doesn't know your goals or that your timeline in those career conversations has been ambiguous? In your next conversation, try out saying, I know we've touched on this before, if you have, and I'm really grateful for all the positive feedback I've gotten over the years. My goal is to be promoted to XYZ in the next performance review cycle. What will it take to make that happen? And then be quiet. This will feel weird and uncomfortable, and that is normal. Just because it feels uncomfortable does not mean that something has gone wrong. Let your supervisor respond and don't bail them out with some random chatter to fill the silence. The silence is a powerful tool, so use it to your advantage. When they respond, take notes and take it all in. Depersonalize it. If they say that you need more development in a certain area, don't get defensive. Just confirm what resources the company can provide to allow you to get there, and or if you need to seek things out on your own. If they say there needs to be a vacancy at the next level first, ask what happens if there's not a vacancy in your timeline and what the protocol is, maybe for building a business case to create a new role at that level if necessary. Are there openings at the next level in different departments? How can they help you get exposure to them? Would they support an internal transfer? If you are shrinking into a ball thinking about having a conversation like that, that is where the work is for you. So, whose feelings are you protecting at the expense of your own growth or your own life? It's not a rhetorical question. Write it down and answer it honestly. Who are you protecting? You can always decide that you'd like to look for other jobs. We can get into this kind of all or nothing mentality sometimes, that just because there isn't an abundance of opportunity necessarily, that means that there must be zero opportunity, right? And that just is not the case. Even applying to other jobs signals to your brain that you believe that you're capable of finding other solutions and being successful outside of your current role. It allows you to imagine what's possible. If we wait for external circumstances to change, we will always be blown around by the changing winds, when what we really need to do is anchor down and learn to walk our own path, regardless of what the wind is doing. Now, bonus question. What do you really want to do? Like, continue to push and rise through the ranks where you are, see what else is out there in your current field? Do you want to do something different entirely? Do you just want a sabbatical? Like, what would it take to make that happen? Maybe you want to start your own thing. You don't need to know the full how, but you do need to know the what and the first little step in that direction, and then do that thing. It could be as simple as setting aside 30 minutes a week just to see what roles are out there internally and externally, or talking to your partner about how to budget for a career shift without inviting financial disaster, or pivoting from an hour of Netflix each night to something that feels really compelling and exciting for you, like making art or learning a new skill. It doesn't have to be a side hustle. In fact, it's probably better if it's not, to be honest. And it can just be a gateway to sparking a sense of creativity and connection within yourself. Even if you can't do everything, you can do something. So ultimately, like most things where other people are involved, this comes down to communication. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients come to me puzzled about their career stagnation. And when I ask about the conversations they've already had with their bosses about it, we find out there hasn't been one. So that is the first place to start if you haven't already. And the even bigger, more important conversation is going to be with yourself. Like, what do you want and why? And do you like your reasons why? And then what would you like to do as a first step towards working towards getting what you want? That's all there is to it. If you've been waiting for someone to come and tell you that you have been chosen, now is the time to choose yourself instead. So honor yourself by having those hard conversations and share this with friends to help them do the same. I hope you came away with some insights you can apply in your own life right away. I'll see you next time.